Oh, whiffy, whiffy. Oh gosh, that stinks. Not surprisingly. A bit more in there. What's that? That's our nettle tea. Yay! Good day. Welcome to another week of A Week at the Plot. I've just squashed down the fibrous stems and the remainder of the decomposted nettle leaves, and the juice in the bottom, the nettle tea, is going to be decanted. I've already decanted the first bucket, and now there's most probably about a quarter of that bucket left, and that is really sort of pretty strong. I'm just going to let it drain for another 5 or 10 minutes. I'll make sure nobody comes up this path, and then the stems and the leaves, the composted or decomposed leaves, will go into our compost, so that will be a good activator. And I will decant the rest of the juice into bottles that I have. I've harvested the rock and core, which are in the blue basket, and the flat yellow French, which are in the grey basket. And this one is the flat yellow, oh nice root system, that I wanted to save seeds from. So I'm keeping that one separate. I'll give this a weed. Won't really take any of the leaves away, but give it a weed. And then it's time to think about something else to go in here. Compost bin time. All chopped up, not too finely, and now that's going in the compost. We have quite a lot of seed saving going on. Most of this, that's the borlotti we picked a couple of weeks ago. This is the rock and core I've just picked now. This is the flat yellow that I've just picked. Those are all going to be podded and used as food. Then at the back here, that's the plant from the yellow flat French that I am seed saving from for growing on next year. Some white valerian that Vivi gave me. 2 cucumbers ripening. We got more of those. In here, not sure if you can see, lots of poppies. Lots of poppies in there. In here's our dill. Just about see that. And then these are some walking onions that I was given a week or so ago. So as you can see, in most cases, paper's the name of the game when you're saving seed, not plastic. I mean, obviously they're sitting in this plastic crate, but they're in paper bags so that the air can get to them and they don't sweat. If they were in plastic bags, you might seal them up like this and then they would then sweat. That has just had plenty of time to dry out since Vivi gave it to me. So yeah, when you're saving seed, paper is your friend. a few good jobs done today, including that Nettle Fertiliser, which was really smelly. I often call it nettle tea. I get my words mixed up sometimes. And of course, nettle tea is what it will be once I dilute it. So at the moment it's nettle fertiliser. I'll dilute it 1 to 10 parts water, 1 part the fertiliser to 10 parts water. And then I'll use it over the winter, mainly on our brassicas, leafy greens, things like that. You can also use it on tomatoes and fruiting things, but really I will be using it on sort of greenery. It's not good for beetroot and turnips and things like that. You're better using a comfrey fertiliser or a different fertiliser on that. But yeah, I decanted, I think, between 15 and 18 litres of that. So that's really grand. That'll see us through the winter. Most has gone into a big white tub, and some has gone into cordial bottles, obviously with the top on. And after I did that, I then changed my gloves and I harvested those beans. It was time for them to come out, certainly, and they can dry happily away in the greenhouse, or finish off drying in the greenhouse. I don't think it will take them very long at all. Some of them, maybe some of the flat yellow, I will see if I can save it demi-sec, so half dried. I always say semi-dried. It sort of fits more easily, because then they're not moist like they are when fresh, and they're not hard and dry when they are as a dried seed. They're in the middle. So yeah, anyway, there we are. That's today's segment of A Week at the Plot. And yeah, I thought I'd only come down here for a little wander and to bring some compost down, and then I thought, you know what, do the nettle fertiliser and get those beans out, because there's other things that need to go in. I need to start thinking about where certain things are going to go over the winter, but I'll come on to that later in the week. See you then. Bye. Good day. I'm with Vanessa. There's Vanessa at Loddington Farm. We're in the cut flower garden. There's a shop here that does bouquets and cut flowers, and this is their garden. And over there you might be able to see, well, you should be able to see cherry trees under a covering. So we've done a bit of a tour. Loddington is a huge fruit and a huge fruit farm, does other things as well, and they've got chickens. And Vanessa and I have just come out for the day. It's Vanessa's birthday in a few days, so I've treated her to today. I've just had a nice halloumi burger, and Vanessa's had a venison burger. Oh, look at all the flowers. I mean, obviously it's now end of season, but this will have been just glorious even a month ago, I guess. Anyway, there's some people on the bench over there, so I'm going to catch up with you shortly. We've just got to the acreages of pear. A lovely view down there, look at that. But these are also neat, tied up to wires. Lovely. So we're in Kent near Maidstone. Had a few difficulties getting here this morning because of traffic, but yeah, and these are all trees that fix nitrogen in their roots, which delivers nitrogen to the soil and runs down. I mean, obviously the angle of these hills is perfect for sunlight, but look, oh, lovely view, Vanessa. It really is. Oh, what's that? That's a cuckoo. Not a cuckoo, no, oh, I've forgotten what it is, but it just darted around. Isn't this lovely? Lovely. And then if we just sort of come back up here, this section here, look, they've got beehives. This is Brayburn block. So lovely, and a wind turbine up there that's turned off at the moment. And then over here, further cherries. Quite wild in many cases because it's such big acreage. But look at that compost pile. I'm always happy to see a compost pile. Anyway, just a quick look at Loddington Regenerative Fruit Farm. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. It's Friday afternoon. We've had lots and lots and lots of rain, and my mind is turning to seed saving from this tomato. It's the tomato that I showed you several weeks ago that was producing really well. Long, good trusses, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trusses on here. There were 8, and I want to save seed, so I'm going to save it from this tomato here. I will harvest the rest for supper this evening, but it's just grown so well, and it tastes so good that yeah, I'm gonna harvest from it. So let me just pick that one. That's done. There's a little knuckle, not sure if you can see, at the top of most tomato stems, sort of halfway down between the actual truss stem and the top of the tomato. And when ripe, if you sort of put your finger against that knuckle, they will come away quite easily. But yeah, it's quite a mixed bag day today. This is our tomato bed now, and I'm going to be harvesting quite a few of these as soon as they blush. I can see a couple of stems, one here and one over here, have fallen over completely. But with all the water that we've been having, we're getting a little bit of bursting where the tomato has grown quicker than the skin has been able to, and a little bit of scarring as well. Not sure if you can see that. And then over here, I don't know what has done this. This is 3.5 foot, 4 foot up the plant, and that has been eaten. I mean, what has had that? No idea. No idea. But yeah, things that have got some blush on them, like this, I will be picking later on today. Here's some more general damage. I mean, that tomato will taste lovely, but you can see the scarring there. And we've got a few tomatoes falling down. But yeah, this one over here, we've lost a couple. Have fallen down in the strong winds we've had, though we're due stronger winds in a few days. And avoiding a frog, we're coming over here. These are I think these are the Croatian yellows, and they're really quite chunky and nice. But anyway, yes, lots of things to do. But look at those clouds. They're really bringing torrential bouts of rain. They really are. This is one of our Diva flowers, and even though they're self-fertile, you still need to move them about, give them a bit of a tap. There's one at the back as well there. Just give that one, not sure if you can see that one, bit of a tap. The thing is, the pollen needs to loosen and then fall to ensure that this is pollinated. So it does need some movement. in the greenhouse at the moment we have very few pollinators, so if we don't have the pollinators going in with a little bit of dancey movement, the pollen can't fall and pollinate its flower. So yeah, I've been doing that regularly, and we picked 5 from here so far, and let me show you a couple more that are developing. Hopefully you can see that this one is clearly developing. So as I say, I gave the flower, which is here, sort of all desiccated now, I gave that a really good sort of tap, strong tap, to allow the pollen to move, and it's meant that the flower was pollinated well, and this is beginning to develop. So that's supposed to be about, I don't know, 10 days, 9 days, 10 days at the moment away from harvest. And I can see, you can't see this one further up, but there's various ones on here that are growing, and there's another flower just here which you can't see me doing. No, you can't. I'm just going to tap that one as well. Yeah, there, happy days. So what am I going to do with this little beauty here? Well, I'll be cutting it open and removing the seeds from inside. And if you know tomatoes, you'll know that the actual seed is covered in a gelatinous mass, and that actually is a germination inhibitor. So what I normally do is I normally put the seeds into a jar of water, put the lid on relatively loosely, and then leave it to ferment over 3, 4 or 5 days. And that way that gelatinous material breaks down, and then you can decant the seeds, give them a wash in the jar first. Anything that is floating, let that go away. Anything that is at the bottom, keep. Give it a good few rinses, and then put it out into a sieve, and then put your seeds from that onto a plate, or potentially some kitchen paper or loo roll, and let them dry off. I've had the it's the Czech yellow, Czech orange. I've had that drying for quite a few weeks, and I'm going to soon put that into a bag and you know, a little envelope, and put it into my seed tin. But if you want, you can just take the seeds out, put the seeds onto paper and let them dry out. You might have a lower germination on the seeds than you would have doing the longer method of soaking, fermenting, rinsing, sieving, drying, but you'll still get some germination. It's just the fact that that gel, once it becomes wet again, becomes an inhibitor again, basically. So yeah, I like to do it my way. I have done this before. I'll link back to the video where I have done it before, and hopefully that will give you some tips. I know Vivi has also done this before, so I'll link to one of her videos as well. We both sort of do it the same way, same with cucumbers and any type of seed like that. With squash, with our cheeky prince squash, when we did that, we didn't need to do the fermenting. They just dried naturally perfectly fine themselves. But yeah, there we are. Look, little tomato, which hopefully next year will give us a lot more tomatoes of these little tomatoes. I don't know what variety it is. If you know, let me know. It's got a very definite point at the bottom here. I'm not sure if you can see that. I was going to save the Croatian red Roma. However, even though it is produced really well, I feel it's not actually any better than the Roma variety that we already have. It has been prolific, but I think one of the Romas that we saved from a couple of years ago was also prolific. So I'm not going to save seeds from that Croatian Roma, though I do know that my next door neighbour, who comes from Croatia, she is going to be saving seed. So if I do decide to do it again next year, I'll bum some seed off her. Anyway, quick one today. I will see you again very soon, and I'm very pleased about those cucumbers. the nights are getting pretty cold at the moment, and they're not really liking the colder temperatures, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. See you for a brief segment in a day or so. Bye. Good day. Just weeding the bean bed, or what was the bean bed. Not sure what it will be next, but it will have more weeds in it if I don't do this now. Lots of sun this afternoon and lots of cloud going over the sun, giving us really sort of grey periods as well with heavy rain. And I have to say, it really does feel autumnal. It really does. Everything, well, I was going to say everything is looking tired, but that's not true. Our turnips are looking great. The beetroot are looking great. There's a lot of things that are looking great. But some things are really beginning to succumb to autumn now. And with autumn, I start thinking about garlic, which hopefully will be going in a few weeks' time, first, second week of October potentially. And then broad beans, where will they go? We've got dazzling blue kale to go in. Where is that going to go? And of course, we sowed some chard last week as well, and that will need to go in at some point. So yeah, I'm looking at beds. Our tomato bed, which we had a look at yesterday, I mean, it needs a good weed, but I'm sort of thinking, I'm hoping to get my broad beans in relatively early. Last year I got them in, I think, about the second week of November, and mice got them all, and I'm thinking if I can get them in early October to mid-October, then hopefully they'll get away before the mice think, ooh, we could use that as a meal. So I'm thinking broad beans in here, replacing the tomatoes. Any that are not ripe by the time I take these out will either be a green tomato and pea curry, or I will just let ripen. As you can see, I haven't picked them yet. I'll do that maybe later. Then of course over here we do have a courgette bed. Now those courgettes will be likely giving up the ghost soon, and I'm wondering, is this a good place to put garlic this year? Because the only thing that has grown in this bed over the last 8 years will have been these courgettes. And some weeds, of course. So yeah, with the propensity of white rot, maybe this is a place to put garlic. Or of course we have this bed as well. Let me come over here. You can see this, all of these squash are beginning to yellow in leaf and die back. So this is going to be an available bed. I've also got dazzling blue kale to go in, so maybe they could go in here. Or if we come over here, this area that has got the cosmos and the calendula and still some squash in it, maybe I could put a row of covered dazzling blue kale in there. We've got the lettuce under this tunnel here, and we've got the turnips here, and maybe they could go in there. I think this is going to be a perennial bed, so we have other perennial kale to go in there. And then we've got the bed, the broad bean bed, not the broad bean bed, the bean bed, the French bean bed, and the borlotti bed that I've just cleared. That is another growing area. Maybe the brassicas would be better in there, though I feel they get more sun over the winter on this side of the plot. because if we do look over there, that bed is shielded by the ceanothus. So even though it gets sun through the morning, by this time, 3 o'clock, you can see half the bed is shaded. Maybe that would be a better place to put the chard that we've got. And then in this bed is carrots at the moment. Let me come this way. But you can see here that there's very few carrots here. So something could go in there. So do I split up the types of garlic I'm growing this year into different types in different areas, which will give me nice green shards in different areas of the plot? And then of course this bed, which is another tomato bed, is going to be free. Would brassicas be better in here? I don't know. Things to mull. Quite a lot of mulling to do, and I think when I've got my notebook here, I think I'm just going to make a note of the areas that I could put things in. I love the idea of sort of permaculture and sort of forest gardening, but at the same time I quite like lines and things. I'm not OCD as in I've been diagnosed with OCD. I use OCD as a sort of term, I'm sure incorrectly, and people may have a go at me, but I like blocks of things. So in reality, I think I'm going to sow all my garlic together. In reality, I'll sow all the chard together. I'll sow all the dazzling blue kale together, and I'll sow all the broad beans together. Or plant out the dazzling blue kale and chard modules. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a note of areas of beds or whole beds that I think are going to be available from the beginning of October. And then I will mull where I sow broad beans, where I put in the chard, where I put in the dazzling blue kale, and where I put in our garlic when that arrives. It's already ordered. I hope it will arrive early in October, because I really would like to get the garlic in early as well as the broad beans in early this year, for the reasons that I said about the broad beans. And for garlic, you know, the sooner you put it in, the sooner it can establish. And then when it gets really going next year, when the soil starts warming up a bit, hopefully you get bigger bulbs. So, you know, that's the good reason to try and get them in early and get that root system established and get those shards of green coming up as soon as possible. Same with the broad beans. Nice root system gets going, nice growth above. That, as long as the wind is not too much, will go well over the winter. What I am going to do this year is I am going to either put tunnels over our broad beans or put a full net over the beds, our green scaffold nets. Yeah, so things to mull, and I'm getting on and doing other things. Weeding, I've weeded 2 beds since I hoed the potato bed. Hoeing that, I mean, the ideal time to do hoeing is when the ground is dry and the sun is out, because then those young roots of those seedlings, they die in the sunlight. We got quite a breeze going across the plot, we've got some sunlight, so I'm hoping that some of those roots that I've exposed will die, and if I just keep on top of it, I mean, most of those are going to die in a first frost anyway. So yeah, I'm not going to worry about them too much, but I also don't want them getting holed before whenever the first frost may be, because it may be 2 months away, who knows, you know. So I don't want the weeds establishing themselves too much in that time, even if they're just annual weeds. There. Anyway, things to mull, things to do, and I'll most probably, it's Saturday afternoon now, I'll most probably be doing a bit more mulling and a few more things down here tomorrow. If I do anything of significance, I'll pick it up next week with you. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, I'm not going to waffle on. Have I been waffling? Maybe I have. Maybe I have. Maybe I have. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. Some people do mind, and I know other people really like it. So there we are. Right, I am going to go. A little interruption there because the door just shut and it made me jump. Even though I saw it out the corner of my eye, it made so much noise when it banged. It made me jump, and I said something naughty, so I thought I better stop and start again. Where were we? Yes. Whatever is happening in your garden, your growing space, or your allotment, I hope you are getting pleasure from it. Of course, in the southern hemisphere, you're into your meteorological spring now. So hopefully soil will start warming up and those hours of daylight are extending. Here, of course, in the northern hemisphere, our days are shortening. Our day isn't shortening, but the hours of sunlight are shortening within the day. And we're getting to the end of what I call our growing year, which is October to September. It's what my dad used to do, and it's what I've always sort of followed as well, rather than a calendar year. It also ties in with our tenancy years here, which are again October to September. So we're coming up for renewals at the moment. No chance of me not renewing. I'm just waiting for the invoice to come through and I'll pay it. But yes, it's been a rather good growing year, but we'll talk about that maybe another time. I am going to go now. If you have any comments, any suggestions, please do put them down below and I will get back to you. And any thoughts on what I could do differently as well, because this year I have grown tomatoes up canes. I've strung them up to canes rather than stringing them up to a frame. And I've rather enjoyed that this year. I've rather enjoyed that. I've done it several times before and it's never really worked for me, but this year it seems to have worked. So yeah, any comments, any suggestions, any thoughts, let me know. And I will see you on Planet Vegetaria as we go through next week. And I'll see you on YouTube for another full upload in a week's time. And if you've got this far, say bananas. And if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe and hit that bell button to get notifications. And if you're not getting notifications, then go into your account on YouTube, take notifications off and then put them back on, and hopefully that will reset it. Right, I'm going to go, and an ambulance is just leaving with one of our plotters here as well. Unfortunately, she fell on her plot and dislocated her hip. So we wish her a good recovery. Unfortunately, the ambulance only needs to go from there to sort of 4 minutes that way. So yeah, see you very soon and happy growing. Bye.